Our presentation is about alien horror. I'm Cal, and I'm going to be talking about the history of alien horror, starting from the beginning. So, many filmmakers were influenced by early authors such as H.P. Lovecraft, Jules Verne, and H.G. Wells. A Trip to the Moon by George Méliès was the first film to feature extraterrestrials, and A Trip to Mars by a Danish director was also one of the first films. So those were in 1902 and 1918. We don't really get a ton of extraterrestrial films around this time. 20s and 30s, we have Alita, Queen of Mars in 1924. It was the last silent film to feature extraterrestrials. After that, movies featuring aliens took off in a big way. So in the 1950s, we have what I would consider the start of the golden age of alien horror cinema, with really popular films like The Day the Earth Stood Still in 51, War of the Worlds in 53, Plan 9 from Outer Space, which we've already talked about in class. Those were all American films, and like so many more films to even name were made during this time. I think the reason that it was so prevalent was because we were right in the beginning midst of the space race and the Cold War. So Americans' minds were really on going to space at this time. We were really curious about what was in space, and I think this was a good way for us to explore that as a zeitgeist in our society. It only got more popular as alien cinema extends into the 60s and 70s. Both sci-fi, horror, and also comedy sci-fi are made by this time in countries like America, Japan, and Britain, which, you know, we got different flavors in each one. But yeah, basically aliens are getting popular all over the world. What's interesting to me is that 2001: The Space Odyssey, which is a super famous film, kind of scary, came out a year before the moon landing. So extraterrestrials are implicated in that film, but not necessarily the monster. I would say what is really the monster is an android, but I would consider it a horror film nonetheless. Next. So here we have a clip from War of the Worlds in 1953, the height of the Cold War.
Clean beauty to me is being simple. Kind of simple. Not enough perfect. Not too complicated.
Sorry. Not supposed to be in here. Okay.
There's when, right?
40 seconds.
Not the flavor. Right.
30 seconds.
They're using those protective blisters again.
20 seconds. Attention. Stand by. 15 seconds. 10 seconds.
Scotland. Guns, tanks, bombs, they're like toys against them. It'll end only one way. We're beaten. No. Not yet. Washington issued orders. In the event the A-bomb failed, it had to make all cities in danger of attack. They'll be moving on Los Angeles now. We'll establish a line and fight them all the way back to the mountains. Our best hope lies in what you people do.
So you can clearly see the use and interest in atomic bombs there. That was an American film. Obviously, opinions about nuclear war and atomic bombs were different in different countries, like Japan, as was already discussed earlier in class. So these are just some of the artwork from the various decades. It's pretty cool looking at old sci-fi artwork, in my opinion. I'm going to let Jafar talk for a little bit next.
Hello, my name is Jafar, and I'll be talking about the history. So, Alien and Horror Cinema probability continued to progress rapidly into the 70s. Horror Express, 1972. Rocky Horror Picture Show, 1975. Close Encounters of a Third Kind, 1977. The Alien Factor, 1978. Are just a few of many production value and writing quality, along with the themes that each film bring forth very greatly. As the Alien franchise started in 1979 with the first Alien movie, continues today, followed by Aliens, 1986, Alien 3, 1992, Alien Resurrection, 1997, and continue in the Alien vs. Predator from 2004 and 2007, and continue Prometheus film 2012. Ongoing. Aliens Encounter continues to be in popular use in the 80s, notably Galaxy of Terror in 1981, The Thing 1982, and B miniseries in 1983. Both The Thing and V were rebooted in 2000. Aliens and cinema and horror did take on more comedic, less serious tone, especially in the later half of the 80s. Instead of what we usually consider horror, we get more spoof or comedy horror and heroic alien films such as Star Wars and Star Trek were popular, especially during those times. And there'll be a clip coming soon. continue.
So we can see that since the 80s and even really before, people have become very used to seeing extraterrestrials in films. The variety, tone, and theme that each different film portrays varies, is different from film to film. So are the different franchises like Alien, versus Cloverfield or something like that. You get anywhere from like comedy to gore in these films. Even musicals too. For example, Little Shop of Horrors technically has a monster, but I don't know if it's really considered horror since it's so cheesy. But definitely eccentric in its own right. Continuing on in the 90s, we get a little bit of the same thing. A lot of people were doing spoof comedy horror or spoof comedy aliens instead of actual horror. But there are a few movies that I would consider horror, such as Alien 3, Body Snatchers in 93, Independence Day 96, The Virus 1999. So what is really horror in the alien genre starts to get really blurry by the 80s and 90s. People aren't afraid of the same old alien stories anymore. They're interested in different aspects of sci-fi, like the technology, the action, or even the comedy, rather so much than the aliens, because it's just like the same old creatures over and over again. Moving into the present, though, we get cinema like The Void, Annihilation, and Stranger Things, and they find new and very creative ways to introduce aliens in a way that can incite fear. We have a clip from Annihilation. That's the end scene. Annihilation, for example, one of the common themes is that we create our own destruction. You can see that in the last scene, that alien creature is made from a drop of her blood, and it's mimicking her movement. So as she's fighting it, that's the force that it's bringing against her. I think that film was kind of symbolic of modern fears about climate change and global warming. There's like this shimmer in the film that she goes into where it's like encompassing the earth and expanding, and nobody is able to come out of it. So she goes in there and finds the aliens, and then that's what happens to her. So you can see that theme very clearly. Other common themes in alien movies: invasion, obviously getting scared of the earth being invaded by aliens, infestation, pregnancy. You can see those in the alien movies a lot. The alien literally rapes them and impregnates them, and then they give birth to aliens, so their bodies are just completely violated by these alien creatures. Symbiosis. You can see that in District 9. It's a 2004 film, I think, about aliens in South Africa. They basically have to like set up a refugee camp for them, but his arm gets like melded with an alien, so there's symbiosis fear can be seen in that film and other films. Human genocide, we're afraid of aliens wiping us out in these films. It's a global threat usually that brings countries together. Climate threat I already talked about. Fear of the unknown space, so post moon landing, we get more alien films that actually take place in space rather than on Earth, and I think that just adds to the kind of fear of the vastness of what's out there. You also get a lot of tentacle or reptilian-like aliens, so that kind of goes back to more primal fears and like insect fears and stuff like that. Useless weaponry, including nuclear, human technological competence. We saw that in War of the Worlds, when the atomic bomb did not work against a spaceship. Aliens pretending to be humans, alien identity assumption. That was in V, where it's like reptilian aliens are looking like humans, pretending to be humans, and alien experimentation on human DNA. Loss of identity is also a common theme that can be found in these films.
So why are aliens so effective in horror cinema? Why are they used so often? And why are their movies some of the most memorable? One important aspect of horror is the idea of the other. A force, a creature, a concept that's simply beyond our comprehension. The other is something removed from us, something abnormal, something we can't completely understand, something, well, alien. The mere presence of another is often enough to begin unsettling us. As humans, we like things to be normal. We like to be able to understand things. We like to be able to fit things into our framework of how we view the world. When we can't fully understand what something is or why it's happening, when it doesn't quite fit into that framework, we begin to get nervous. We begin to get confused. We begin to fear. Aliens are naturally suited for the role of the other. They are inherently removed from us. They're not human. They're not a part of our society. They don't fit into any of our worldviews. Hell, they're not even related to Earth. We can't truly know an alien by definition. Because of this, they're able to quickly and effectively give an audience a sense of otherness without requiring much establishment. There's no need for a lengthy explanation as to why something's strange. It's strange because it's alien. So watch this clip from Annihilation Notice how everything from the sound design to the imagery, cinematography, leads to a disconnect from the alien, a sense of otherness. Everything about this scene is created to display the alien as different. The sounds we hear, the deep basses we hear during the creation of the alien are unlike anything we hear in everyday life. The floating entity that gives birth to the alien, its geometries are impossible. The way it moves is so strange. The alien has similarities to humans in body structure, but it's still so obviously not us. The cold way it moves, the way it stands, the way it reacts to being shot. It's something entirely different from what we're used to. Something entirely other.
Social fears and implications. Horror films embody the consensus of what people believed to be scary at the time being. During the 1950s, also known as the golden era for the subgenre alien horror, comes a time where we are in the midst of a Cold War, the space race. Americans are fearing Soviets at an alarming rate. McCarthy is going on a witch hunt to find every Soviet communist in America. But also, we are exploring the unknown in the space race against the Soviet Union, where they are trying to one-up us by sending a rocket in space, and we ultimately end up beating them by putting a man on the moon. At that time, people were scared of these foreign ideals and the unknown nature of communism, which makes them kind of outsiders. So the social fear here would be the fear of outsiders and different beliefs, which is why these movies were made in such quick succession in this time period.